welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something interesting. Not just a sequel, but a sequel that, well, it feels like it had to happen because of money.
Yeah.
We're diving into the 2012 action follow-up, Taken 2, how it was received, the whole commercial side of things. And our mission, really, is to use the sources we have, especially a review from back then, to figure out what happens, when a studio needs a sequel. We're digging into that tension between making money at the box office and maybe creative compromise.
Yeah.
Why did this one maybe not quite hit the same mark as the first?
Yeah, and Taken 2 is such a perfect example for this. I mean, the first Taken back in 2008, that wasn't just a hit movie. It was like a phenomenon.
Right.
Made over $200 million worldwide. And the budget, tiny, like $25 million.
Wow.
It wasn't meant to be a franchise, just this gritty little European thriller. But with that kind of profit...
A sequel was basically guaranteed.
Oh, absolutely mandatory. You just don't leave that kind of money sitting there if you're a studio.
Okay, so let's get into the setup for number 2. Bryan Mills, Liam Neeson, now this, established action guy. He's back, and the story kind of paints him as trying to be, normal, a family man again. Does the source material actually buy that? Or is it just, an excuse to get him to Istanbul?
It leans pretty heavily towards excuse, yeah. The sequel sort of suggests Mills just sidestepped all the chaos he caused in Paris.
Like blowing up half the city had no consequences?
Apparently not. No legal trouble, nothing. And now he's just focused on being a good dad. So he invites his ex-wife Lenore, she's having some marriage problems, and daughter Kim over to Istanbul for a visit.
Classic sequel move. Force them into a dangerous place disguised as a vacation.
Exactly. It's transparent sequel bait, really.
And, of course, trouble finds them. But the bad guy this time, Murad, played by Krasniqi. He's interesting. There's a symmetry there.
Yeah, that's where the script tries to be a bit smart, but maybe gets a bit tangled. Murad, he's the father of one of the main traffickers Mills, eliminated in the first movie. So he wants revenge.
And the review points this out, this idea that Murad is sort of a parallel, another father, also driven by family, just, seeking vengeance for his son.
So like two sides of the same coin, both fathers protecting their kids, in a way.
That seems to be the idea. It sets up this potentially interesting emotional dynamic.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, it pretty quickly just turns into more shooting and chasing in Istanbul.
Right. Murad's crew shows up, they grab Lenore, Bryan has to go on the rampage again, but Kim avoids getting nabbed this time. And she actually helps out more.
Yeah, Kim somehow escapes and becomes, his sidekick almost, which is a big shift from the first film where she was just, the person needing rescue.
Okay, and this is where things start to feel different, less effective.
This is exactly where the source material starts pointing out the cracks, yeah.
Yeah.
It really brings up the core question. The action in the first film was iconic. Why did it seem to fall kind of flat here?
There was a change in director, wasn't there? Pierre Morel did the first one.
And Olivier Megaton did this one. And the review really jumps on that, right? It says the early fights are just a blurry mess.
That's the quote, blurry mess. Characterized by super fast edits.
Making it hard to follow.
Yeah, hard to follow, kind of nonsensical, just frantic cutting that makes you feel confused, not thrilled. It feels choppy, maybe even cheap.
Like maybe things got heavily cut in the edit.
That feeling is definitely there in the critique, that maybe the scenes we saw weren't the full picture.
Yeah.
And it suggests that blurriness, that frantic editing, it might not just be down to the director's style, it might be coming from higher up.
What do you mean?
We might need to look at the rating, the need to hit a specific audience-friendly target.
So compromising the action, the very thing that made Taken such a hit. Why?
Money.
Yeah.
Pure and simple, really. Ticket sales. The first Taken was pretty brutal. It got a PG-13 in the US, but only after cuts, and a 15 rating in the UK. That limits the audience, especially younger teens.
Okay.
For Taken 2, the goalposts moved. They apparently had to make even more cuts, especially for the UK market, to get down to a 12A rating.
And that 12A, that's the big prize commercially, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Massive difference. A 15 rating cuts out a lot of the potential audience. A 12A means kids under 12 can go with an adult, and anyone 12 or over can go alone. It just opens the floodgates for ticket sales. More showtimes, family outing.
It's about maximizing the box office potential, even if it means softening the edges.
Precisely. They wanted viewers who might have found the first one too intense.
So what we got was Taken late. That's what the review called it.
Essentially, yes. Taken light.
Yeah.
The violence had to be dialed way back for that rating. And the reviewer really drove this home. They said the reduction in intensity was so noticeable that Taken 2 makes a show like 24 which is known for being violent.
Yeah.
Makes 24 look like, and this is a direct quote comparison, like the ultra-violent Japanese film Ichi the Killer.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a statement.
It really highlights how much they must have toned down the brutality, just hacking away at the core appeal to hit that 12A rating.
It basically changed the film's DNA, didn't it?
Fundamentally. And it makes you look at Megaton's history, too. This is the guy who directed Hitman the Review, called it violent and underrated, and Transporter 3, which was ridiculous but fun.
So he knows how to do action, usually more intense action.
Right, so the source suggests maybe the issue wasn't just his directing skill here, it was the mandate. He was basically asked to make a PG-13 12A action movie from a concept that screams for R-rated, 15-rated intensity.
Leading to bad CGI moments and those choppy, messy fight scenes, because maybe the good stuff was left on the cutting room floor.
That's the implication. Mutilated in the edit bay to satisfy the censors and the studio's target demographic.
It wasn't just the action that felt off, according to the review. The characters also took a hit, especially Kim, the daughter.
Yeah, giving Kim so much more to do is a big point of criticism.
In the first one, she's basically the MacGuffin, right? The reason for everything.
Exactly. She's the object to be rescued. Silent for most of it, just raising the stakes for Mills. In Taken 2, suddenly she's got grenades and a car chase along with too much dialogue.
Grenades? Seriously?
Apparently. And the review's main point was just she wasn't interesting enough to carry that extra screen time.
So, let me get this straight. The solution to making the sequel work was more MacGuffin, but now she drives and throws explosives.
Kind of sounds that way, doesn't it? It seems like it really diluted the core tension. The first film worked because Mills was this unstoppable force driven by his daughter being completely helpless and vulnerable.
Right.
The second, she becomes an active participant, helping escape, driving through Istanbul like a stunt driver. Well, some of that primal fear just evaporates, you know?
Yeah, I see
The
that.
criticism was pretty harsh. Like, the reviewer actually said they hoped the unrated DVD version would just cut her scenes out.
Ouch. That's rough.
It really tells you how poorly that character expansion landed.
And what about Bryan Mills himself? Did he feel different?
Yeah, the review touches on that, too. That core motivation from the first film, that burning desire for revenge, it's kind of gone. Now, he's mostly just defending himself and his family from the consequences of his last rampage. It's reactive, not proactive.
Less terrifying Avenger. More tired dad trying to clean up a mess.
Exactly. The reviews summarized his vibe as coming across like Jason Bourne's dad.
Jason Bourne's dad.
Like he's just weary, less driven, maybe wants to just put his feet up sooner rather than later.
Suggesting maybe the character or even Neeson himself felt a bit tired of the whole thing.
It's possible. That loss of that raw, almost psychopathic motivation from the first film is key. Taken worked because his response felt so disproportionate, so personal. Taken 2 is just dealing with the blowback. It feels less urgent, less compelling.
Okay, so we've got blurry action, censorship issues, characters not quite working, and yet we have to talk about the box office.
Yeah.
Because despite all this, it made money, right? A lot of money.
It absolutely did. And the reviewer even acknowledges that, later in the film, the action does improve a bit, and it's still Liam Neeson being Bryan Mills. It's hard not to root for him on some basic level.
So it's kind of watchable, just not great.
Yeah, like lowest common denominator entertainment that still kind of works. And you combine that baseline watchability with the massive brand recognition of Taken.
And it equals big box office.
An irresistible financial force, exactly. It made enough that talk of Tuck 3 and the third one started almost immediately.
Even though critics felt it was creatively lacking.
That's the paradox right there. Financial success completely steamrolling the creative or critical consensus. The review even had that pun at the end, asking if the studio had taken this too far.
And commercially, the answer was clearly no. Creatively, maybe yes.
Definitely yes, according to that review.
And the review mentioned something about hope for a better version, an extended cut.
Yeah, that classic hope among fans and critics when a film feels compromised, that maybe there's a better film lying on the cutting room floor. Maybe Megaton, the Hitman director, actually shot a tougher, better movie before the rating requirements forced all those cuts.
Hoping for an unrated DVD or Blu-ray release that restores the original vision.
Exactly, that elusive director's cut.
So thinking about this for you, the listener.
Yeah.
What's the takeaway here? It really shows how audience demand, or maybe just the potential for big box office returns, can take something that was sharp and gritty and dilute it, compromise it, just to hit that lower rating and sell more tickets.
Yeah, the big lesson from Taken 2 is how success can be its own worst enemy, creatively speaking. It achieved its main goal, make a ton of cash, but it really exposed how vulnerable a sequel can be, especially when you replace that powerful core motivation like revenge with just needing to reuse the characters and, crucially, fit everything into that softer 12A box. The money dictated the movie.
It's the price of turning a surprise hit into a planned franchise, I suppose.
The profit margin becomes the main creative director.
Which leads us to a final thought for you to chew on. Considering Olivier Megaton directed the much more violent, uncut Hitman, and knowing how critical getting that 12A rating was for Taken 2's box office, was that rating requirement the single biggest factor shaping the final film?
More than the director's choices, even.
Yeah. Did the need for that lower certificate basically force the action sequences into being that blurry mess during the edit?
Meaning the censor, or the studio's financial target, had more influence on the final cut than the filmmaker himself.
Something to think about next time you see a sequel suddenly feel a lot tamer than the original.
Definitely food for thought.
Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.